Hi friends, thank you for taking time out of your week to spend a little with me. I appreciate you. This week we're discussing a cold case that very recently had some developments. So I ask you all to join me as we remember Gretchen Harrington. Gretchen Eleanor Harrington was born on June 13, 1967 in Pope County, Minnesota, to parents Harold and Ina. Gretchen was one of 4 girls born to the couple. Gretchen's father Harold was a pastor and moved his family from western Pennsylvania in 1968 to Marple, Pennsylvania for his work. Marple at the time was known for being safe. Children could play outside unsupervised or even walk to school, and no one thought twice about it. Many families chose to move to Marple in the 60s because of its reputation. So when Gretchen needed to walk to summer Bible school on the morning of August 15, 1975, her father didn't think anything of her going alone. Typically, Gretchen's older sisters, Zoe and Harriet, accompanied her on her walk. However, their mother was expected to return home that day from the hospital with the newest addition to the family, Jessica. All of the Harrington girls were excited about their new baby sister, but Gretchen couldn't stay home. She maintained perfect attendance and did not want to lose her streak, so at the behest of her father, Gretchen agreed to walk alone to Bible school. Her program was at Trinity Church, which was located about half a mile from the family home on Lawrence Road. Around 9 a.m., Gretchen waved goodbye to her father before she walked up the hill towards Trinity Church. What should have been a 10-minute walk turned into a decades-long cold case. At around 9 to 9:30 a.m., the children arrived at church with their first activity on the agenda being the morning exercise led by another pastor named David Zanstra. David was the pastor at Trinity Church and responsible for transporting the children to the Reformed Presbyterian Church for the second half of the day. Sometime around 11 a.m., Harold received word that Gretchen hadn't arrived at the church, and he quickly grew concerned. He spoke with Pastor Zanstra and his wife Margaret, who also worked the summer Bible program. Harold requested they call the police and report her missing, while he set out to search the nearby roads. The Zanstras and the Harringtons were close. Both patriarchs worked in the same field, and they were neighbors. One of Zanstra's daughters was also Gretchen's friend. Harold began searching Lawrence Road to see if she wandered off, but she didn't turn up. Around 11:20 a.m., David contacted the Marple Police Department and reported Gretchen as missing. He described the girl as being 8 years old, with blonde hair and pigtails, around 3 feet 6 inches tall, and 50 pounds. She was last seen wearing dark blue shorts with a zipper and a snap in the front, and a white top. At 8 p.m. that evening, there was still no sign of Gretchen. Her family was in complete shock. By the following Saturday, hundreds of people from the community gathered to participate in a ground search for her, while Pennsylvania State Police flew overhead in a helicopter. They combed nearby creeks and woods, but no leads. A solemn feeling clung to the air, since no one knew what to expect. By Sunday, the police called off the massive search operation, citing the reason as a lack of evidence. The police chief held a conference where he explained they didn't have a clue where to turn to. Her sisters returned to school at Delaware County Christian School, and classmates seemed to avoid them due to a lack of words. No one knew how to process Gretchen's sudden disappearance. The community panicked, fearing the worst. Someone was out to harm their children. Family and friends didn't give up on Gretchen. They created flyers and passed them to passerbys in the area asking for anyone with any information to come forward. On August 17th, police started interviews with camp teachers, parents, and potential witnesses. Through interviews, they gained crucial pieces of information. One witness stated either a green station wagon or a light top and dark brown bottom Cadillac stopped to talk to a girl near the church, but they couldn't be sure if it was Gretchen. According to the church staff, the morning routine was broken on August 15th because the group of children stayed nearly 45 to 50 minutes longer than usual. Pastor Zanstra was interviewed regarding his recollection of events, where he described what Gretchen wore that day. He was very detailed down to the snaps, zipper, and pockets on the blue shorts. This information was odd, because not only were Gretchen's clothes handmade by her mother, but technically, David never saw her that morning since she didn't arrive at camp. This detail struck investigators, leaving David at the top of their list. On August 19th, a break in the case came when a small pair of shorts were found on a fence post in Westchester, Pennsylvania. David was called in once again, given his detailed description provided days before. Between himself and Gretchen's family, it was determined the shorts were not hers, but it still left investigators questioning why David possessed so much detail about her clothes. For weeks, no new leads came forward, and no further information regarding current suspects was enough to produce an arrest. But then, approximately 8 weeks after she went missing, a body was found. On October 4th, 1975, a jogger in Ridley State Park discovered skeletonized remains. At first, he wasn't sure what he was looking at, but then he identified a fingernail, so a park ranger was alerted immediately. The remains were removed from the scene and transported to the medical examiner's office. Gretchen's family identified the clothing as ones her mother made. Through dental records, the medical examiner positively identified the remains as Gretchen. Her cause of death was cranial cerebral injury from blunt force trauma. She suffered 2 or more impacts to her skull, leaving a depressed skull fracture. Police suspected an assault probably took place, but no evidence was present to support this. The discovery of Gretchen led to a frenzy of activity in the case. Various witnesses came forward reporting men of various descriptions in the area where Gretchen was found. Based on the locality, several potential suspects, including several child offenders, were interviewed, but nothing led to an arrest. David was called back on October 30th for another interview, where he claimed on August 15th he picked the children up at 9:10 a.m. and finished with his pickups, and was back at Trinity by 9:30 a.m. He again denied ever seeing Gretchen. He told police he was unaware she was missing until Harold called the church around 11:05 a.m. Much like the initial investigation, the leads started to dry up, and police did not have enough evidence to make an arrest against anyone considered a suspect. The evidence box sat undisturbed, gathering dust, as it would for several decades. Then in the fall of 2022, Sergeant Nick Coffin of the Marple Township Police Department received a voicemail from a woman who wanted to talk to someone about Gretchen's case. The state police were contacted regarding the open case since they were the investigating agency due to her body being found in the park. The woman explained she thought she knew who killed Gretchen, and added she also believed the suspect attempted to kidnap another girl. In January of 2023, the woman, only identified as CI, explained she was the best friend of David Zanstra's daughter. She lived in Havertown and spent several nights over at the Zandra household. She recounted one time when she was 10 years old. She spent 2 nights over at her friend's home when something uncomfortable occurred. The first night after she and her friend went to bed, CI woke up to Mr. Zanstra grabbing her groin area. She shifted her body, and he stopped and fled the room. She thought it was weird, but let it go, until it happened the second night. She did the same thing to make him leave. The following morning, she told his daughter about the past 2 nights, and she replied, "Yeah, he does that sometimes." And some nights, she could hear her sister crying down the hall. Police believed the incident in question happened 1 week before Gretchen vanished. CI returned home and told her parents, who no longer allowed her to go to the Zanstra house. CI also told a story to police about a fellow classmate, Holly, who allegedly was nearly kidnapped twice. She produced a diary from 1975 where she documented not only her sleepovers, but the kidnapping also. After Gretchen disappeared, she made an entry regarding Holly and Gretchen. It read, "Guess what? A man tried to kidnap Holly twice. It's a secret, so I can't tell anyone. But I think it might be the one who kidnapped Gretchen. I think it was Mr. Z." She confirmed to investigators Mr. Z was David Zanstra. David Zanstra moved to Texas shortly after Gretchen was discovered, before he retired to Marietta, Georgia, with his wife. Investigators tracked him down on July 17, 2023, where he was interviewed once again regarding Gretchen. David, who was now 83 years old, denied any involvement with Gretchen's disappearance. But that was until investigators brought up the new allegations made against him by CI. After hearing this, he decided it was time to talk. David claimed on the morning of August 15th he saw Gretchen walking to the church alone. He drove up to her in his green Rambler station wagon, since he recognized her due to the families being close, and offered her a ride. Gretchen knew David and had no reason to not accept the ride, so she got into his vehicle. Instead of going to the church, David drove her to a nearby wooded area and parked his car. He instructed Gretchen to remove her clothes, but she refused and told him she wanted to go home. David then touched himself with the child nearby, and after he was done, he hit her in the head with his fist. He told police she started bleeding, so he checked her for a pulse. He couldn't locate it, so he believed she was dead. He dumped her body in the woods and attempted to cover it up with sticks before leaving the area, and returning to the church to go about his day. After he finished, David seemed relieved, and the police weren't sure if he was sorry, since the confession was emotionless. David was arrested and charged with criminal homicide, murder of the first, second, and third degree, kidnapping of a minor, inflicting bodily injury, and possession of an instrument of crime. The Harringtons stated the announcement of his arrest brought extreme hope that the person responsible for the heinous crimes against Gretchen would be held accountable. It is difficult to express emotions as we take one step closer to justice. The abduction and murder of Gretchen have forever altered our family, and we miss her every single day. They recalled how Gretchen was instantly everyone's friend. She exuded kindness to all and was sweet and gentle. Even now, when memories are shared, the first thing anyone talks about is how amazing she was. She made a lifelong impact on those around her. David's arrest warrant was filed in Delaware County, Pennsylvania. He was denied bail and held in Cobb County, Georgia, until he could be extradited to Pennsylvania. Records provided show David worked at Trinity Church from 1969 to 1976, and throughout his 40-year tenure, he was a pastor in California, Texas, and New Jersey before he retired in 2005. Police collected DNA samples from him for comparison in other missing persons cases across the country to see if he had any more unknown victims. Officials urge anyone with information on David's activities during his time in Texas or Georgia to call the tip line provided by Pennsylvania State Police. David was extradited from Georgia to Pennsylvania in September of 2003. Currently, he is held at the Delaware County Prison, awaiting trial scheduling. After 47 years, Gretchen's killer was finally caught. Gretchen was laid to rest in the Meridian Line Cemetery in Johannesburg, Michigan. Hi friends, if you made it this far, thank you so much for watching. I am interested in hearing your thoughts, so leave them below and we can chat about this case. If you found this to be informative, please consider giving the video a thumbs up to let YouTube know you want more from me. And lastly, if you're not subscribed yet, you should, because we would love to have you under the ash tree. As always with these open cases, I have the tip line information in the description of the video, and I will also keep an eye on developments to share with you in the future. I also want to thank you all for your birthday wishes and kindness to me last week. I tried to reply to everyone, so I apologize if I overlooked anyone. You are all the best, and I hope you have a great week ahead of you, because you deserve it. But for now, we must part ways. So stay safe out there, and I will see you in the next one. Bye, friends.